Hello, my name is David, student number 167304110, and my question I'll be looking at is, can ancient expeditions contribute to modern science? By looking at Joseph Banks' expedition on the Endeavour. First off, we'll start with some background information. So Sir Joseph Banks was an English botanist and naturalist. He's best known for making the Endeavour expedition, or the first great voyage, from 1768 to 1772. By the time Banks and those who remained from his crew ended their expedition, they had collected more than 1,000 animal specimens and 30,000 plant specimens. In addition, they had come across varying cultures from different continents. Sir Banks, together led by Lieutenant James Cook and a team of 8 others, visited Brazil, New Zealand, New Guinea, Tahiti, the eastern coast of Australia, and the Cape of Good Hope. Banks and his team gained great knowledge about cultures, botany, and zoology through his expedition, although his biggest interest was in botany. His discoveries led to the establishment of great botanical gardens in the world, such as Botany Bay and the coast of East Australia. The importance of Banks' expedition was the discovery of plant and animal species that his crew used as food or medicine, while others formed the foundation of great scientific discoveries. The problem being addressed initials understanding of context of ancient expeditions and their contributions to modern science. What is the value of an ancient expedition such as the Endeavour to this improvement of modern science at any age where technology and science have become highly advanced yet problems abound? As such, the study seeks to investigate whether Banks' expedition and discoveries can contribute more to modern scientific research and improve relevant human issues, especially in health, instead of playing ornamental roles in museums. Sources and methods. The study shall use 5 sources. The main sources for this research are the journals written by Sir Joseph Banks and supporting materials about his work from the Journal of James Cook. The journals detail the daily activity, discoveries, and memories by Sir Joseph Banks from 25th of August 1768, the date he departed from Plymouth, to 12 July 1770. One when he landed at Deal. In the journey, Banks details their daily activities and discoveries by giving names of places they visited, the food they ate, the plants and animals they saw, the cultures of the people they found during the expedition are among other issues I'll be looking at. James Cook's journal also bears great supporting facts on the discoveries by Banks. The journals act as a primary source. The sources from the National Library of Australia have a lot of detailed collections on Sir Joseph Banks. It offers some insights on publications and manuscripts by Banks, and as such offer an insight into the life and importance of Banks to modern science. I'll be using that too. Other sources include books and articles that bear information on Banks' Endeavour's voyage, such as Miller, Dave Phillip, and Pete Hannis's real book, Visions of Empire, Voyages, Botany, and Reputation of Nature. This book features the life and times of Sir Joseph Banks and represents summary of his major findings. The book Rauschenberg, Roy, and Joseph Banks, a letter of Sir Joseph Banks describing the life of Daniel Solander, offers insight into the incidents that Banks had with his naturalist and closest helper, Dr. Daniel Solander. Historical thinking on the topic. There are a number of existing debates on the subject of early science and discoveries. Through the life of Joseph Banks, people can appreciate the value of early education and the motivation of Banks' expedition. For instance, Joseph Banks gained interest in botany through his fascination with local wildflowers. Modern learners can appreciate that there was ample literature on different topics. Joseph Banks, for instance, read Gerald 1597 book titled The Herbal or the General History of Planets. Some challenges arose with early education because Banks lacked a botany lecturer at Oxford and had to rely on letters from John Martin, a Cambridge professor. The preparations for the expedition form a rich ground of historical presentation of expeditions. Banks and James Cook obtained a team of 8 men from different relevant fields. These include H.D. Sprung and Daniel Solander, Sidney Parkinson, Axel and Alexander Buchan, Peter Briscoe and James Roberts, George Dalton and Thomas Richard. By the end of the expedition, only 4 of the 8 survived. Investigation on the causes of deaths of the deceased men and the efforts made by their team could expose areas where modern science can obtain lessons to be used in modern science, especially in medicine as human health. The preparations also shows the collection, study, and preservation of specimen in history. Banks and his team carried a number of machines for catching and preserving insects, trawls, nets, drags, hooks for coral fishing. They also carried a telescope. In addition, the team carried bottles of varying sizes, spirits to preserve animals, salt, and wax, among other necessities. Once in the sea, the men studied books and collected specimens such as mollusks, fish, birds, etc. They examined, described, and sketched before they were preserved accordingly. As such, the Endeavour expedition paints a clear picture of the level of technology, the involvement, the education, and the procedure of carrying out discoveries in various parts of the world. In this regard, history could expose some loopholes in the procedure and the manner of carrying out expeditions meant to yield scientific findings not just for historical or aesthetic value. Banks also made a great recording of animals that existed in each different place. For instance, on the east coast of Australia, Banks observed rare fish, reptiles, birds, and quadrupeds. The description of animals and plants could respond to clarification of animal and plant species. It could also expose any changes such as extinction of some species, mutation, and interbreeding that has scientific significance. For instance, on the second day of the expedition, Banks observed an insect with Dr. Solander named Podri marina, which from the appendages they saw a species of Oniscus. They also saw an animal about 3 inches long and 1 inch thick, with a hollow passing through it. Using these descriptions, modern scientists can research for an animal or plant species, the relationships between the animal and the environment in which Banks and his team found it, among other issues, to solve current problems. Sir Banks studied and brought to the fore important information about the culture and customs of local people from different parts of the world. For instance, he mentions about meeting strange people with strange cultures in the town of Funchal in Portugal, who kept human bones on chapel ceilings lining and wine coats. He also describes Endeavour expedition. He explains how he met the Aboriginal people in Australia, some dark-skinned people in New Zealand, Tahiti, and Brazil. In all the encounters, the cultures varied, the uses of different plants and animals varied, the dressing, eating habits, cultures, events also varied across regions. As much comparisons of the cultures of people who inhabit all those places now can show how they use things in nature to live full and normal lives. The quest to find out whether historical expeditions can yield solutions to modern science remain on course. To this end, the resources gathered have been very relevant to the study. Banks' discoveries in botany and the profiling of animal and plant species in different parts of the world opened up England and its associates to full-scale exploration and colonization of South America, New Zealand, Australia, and their countries. Banks' expedition pointed to the existence of huge botanical and natural endowment of other parts of the world with plants, animals, as well as cultural practices that could solve health concerns in Britain, as well as secure its base and sought to pursue industrialization. In his younger days, Banks had lucked out on botany lecture at Oxford. However, his exciting discoveries during the expedition prompted institutions of higher learning to institute proper education of the natural environment of the treasuries that lay in seas and other continents. Banks inspired the artistic presentation of plants and animals. Part of the expedition included making drawings of animals and plants. Artists have redrawn and repainted Banks' collection to express the discoveries in ways that are better and easier to understand. Banks' discoveries and the success of the expedition prompted King George III to recognize and knight Joseph Banks. The knighthood, as well as the position at the Royal Society and patronage of science, has cemented Banks' expedition as monumental and vital for the zoological and botanical research. Side problems with the study are failure of historical accounts to name and state the scientific discoveries that have taken place on the animal and plant species that Banks collected. There is scanty literature on whether Banks collected plants and have great medical or nutritional value. As such, the very relevance of Banks' Endeavour expedition remains to serve authentic and ornamental purpose instead of deep scientific exploration and research gathered to alternate human problems. Thank you.